Okay, it's recording.
Okie dokie. Well, let's call the meeting to order. And let's see, looks like somebody is trying to join. Maybe.
No,
Oh, just change the order of things. Okay. So we are recording the meeting, and I don't see any guests, unidentified guests or anything. So we'll assume that it's just us committee members, which will make it a little smoother when we get to the executive session part. Next thing on the agenda is review of the June 7th meeting notes. Anybody have any corrections or additions or anything with the minutes from the last meeting?
No, it looks.
So Chris, what's the status of the operational guide and so forth? Is that completed now?
yes, it's completed, and it's on the website, being publicized and being used. It's going smooth.
Okay, great.
Going real smooth.
David, let's see, looks like you're here. Mr. Goldman is the city finance director, and he's going to, a couple of meetings ago, we talked about maybe some alternatives to refinance the outstanding bond balance that we incurred when we did the dredging the last time around. So, Mr. Goldman, do you care to bring us up to speed?
You got it. All right. I just shared my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I put this presentation together for City Council next week. So it's an ordinance to, go forward with one of these options for refinancing, or they call it refunding the currently outstanding 2011 bonds. Let's see, next slide. So a little background, the city issued the 2011 bonds for the Marina dredging in the amount of $2.57 million back about 10 years ago. The remaining balance outstanding is $1.48 million. And the average coupon of the outstanding bond, basically the interest rate, is 4.31%. The bond is now callable. That means the city can either pay it off or refinance the bond to a lower rate of interest. And as you know, interest rates are pretty low out there right now. I'll go over some of those interest rates in a second. And we also have a policy. We have a city debt policy, which talks about refinancing bonds. It says in order to go forward with this, you really should have a net present value savings of 5% or greater. And I'm going to show what those are for each one of the options. So previous input on May 1st, we came to the Marina Advisory Board, and they recommended that we go forward and explore options to refinance the debt. We had a city council workshop in May. They also recommended bringing back some options for them to consider. So here are some of the options. We asked our financial advisor to go out to about 15 banks. We gave them 3 options on their little RFP that they put out there to the banks. One of them is like a level savings RFP, which is like a straight refinancing. We would just take the interest rate down and we'd have a pretty much level payment over 10 years. And that would produce an annual savings each year. Each year. And then overall, there's a net present value calculation on that. Option B was a consistent payment type option where the payments would stay the same as they are right now at the lower interest rate. And that would actually produce more savings because you're putting more towards the principal, and nearly all the savings you'd find in year 10. But the net present value savings, which is the calculation over 10 years, would show that there's a slightly larger savings than an option A. And then option C has the most savings. It's accelerated payments. Basically, you're taking the 10 years left and paying it off in 5 years. That would increase the payments for the first 5 years. So the debt would be paid off in half the time, and then you wouldn't have any payments after that. So you'd have the most savings over those last 5 years. But of course, you'd have to kick in some more money for the first 5 years. And let me show you what that looks like. So option A, this is the level savings. We got 7 bids back. These are the top 2. So you have this net present value, NPV, net present value, about $150,000 of savings over the 10 years. The percentage is 10. which is, above the 5% that's required for the city's debt policy. So either one of these options is good. This one's slightly better. And then every year, the savings is about $17,000 a year for 10 years. Option B. So option B, the interest rate's slightly better. The overall savings is better. The percentage is better. Basically, all the actual reductions in outlays would occur in the last year, and you'd save about $172,000 that last year. And when you do all the calculations for the net present value and all that, it turned, it's about 153, which is slightly higher than option A overall. Then option C is the 5-year. You get a great interest rate. You get a much higher net present value savings. This is way over the 5% benchmark. But we have to kick in an additional 157,000 for the first 5 years. But then after that, we have no payments. And then we have this savings for years 2026 to 30. And I have a summary slide. So I took the most competitive banks per option. I was just showing you the top 2 in the last 3 slides. Here's the top number 1 for each one. You can see the net present value savings. Option A is the lowest. Option B is slightly better. Option C is the most. And here's the percentages. They're all over the 5%. And here's what you actually see. You see, each year you'd have a 17,000 savings in option A. Option B, you wouldn't have the savings to the final year, but it would be pretty substantial. And option C, you'd have to kick in more money for the first 5 years, but then you'd have a big savings in the last 5 years. And we're asking the council and also the Marina Advisory Committee to provide some direction to us. The rest of this is all legalese. They have to read it if they make a motion. But basically what we're asking is for your advice. What do you think about this? Which option do you prefer that we pursue? Blaine has some advice on some of these options if you have any questions, but I guess we should hear what you have to say, see what direction you're leaning towards.
David, this is Ken Hewlett. When we first started talking about this, the balance outstanding on the bonds was about $1,480,000.
Yeah.
And I see, looking that the previous slide that you had up, it showed it refinancing or whatever you want to call it, $1,500,000 something.
Yeah, right here. You want to go to? I'm sorry. This slide.
Let's see. No, it wasn't that. Well, maybe I made something up. Never mind.
Oh, this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the $1,570,000. So that's the cost of refinancing, essentially.
Yeah, there's some fees and there's some legal costs and there's some origination things. That's not going to be the cost. That's like the worst case. What they want to do is provide some room in there for negotiations, but they don't know the exact amount. I asked that very question to the financial advisor last week. He had it at 1.6. I'm like, why is it so high? Why is it 1.6? And he says, well, we got to include some of the cost in there. We don't know what it's going to end up panning out to be. But, he said it was pretty typical when it comes to these kind of, delegating ordinances where the option isn't known ahead of time and there's some.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that the committee understood that there's a other than just the outstanding balance, there is a cost of doing this. I mean, people get paid along the way.
Right.
That's true. That's all part of it. The fees to the bank, the fees to the financial advisor, and the lawyers and all that stuff too. I don't think it's going to be 1.57. It's going to be less, but they want to just have a wiggle room.
David, I had another question. When we started this whole bond thing, meaning I don't know what entity it was, had put up, I think it was the funds from the Marina, put up $250,000 as sort of a guarantee fund. Is that amount reducing the outstanding balance, or what happens to that amount?
I'm not familiar with that. Chris, do you know about that?
Yes. What that is there is a fund for the Marina in the amount of $250,000, and the finance director at that time, Doug Merriman, said that was part of the bond, that we had to have that $250,000 in reserve. And what his plan was was once the bond dropped down to that amount, he was just going to pay it off uh, a year or two early, as I recall, and he had some plan for savings, how that would save money as well. But that should be in the Eden reports as well. That
Oh, you know what that
250,000.
is? I think that has to do with the bond covenants.
Yeah, covenants.
I think
Probably.
the covenants
Yeah.
required, it's not exactly 250, it's like 248 or something, but
Yeah,
it requires a certain percentage of the total amount to be there as a reserve. So
Right.
once we're ready to pay it off, I mean, we won't need that anymore. We can utilize that to pay it off. But whatever, whatever new bond that we get is probably going to require some kind of reserve as well.
Now, this bank financing doesn't have any reserve requirements.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right.
No, it's not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right.
But the bond did.
yeah, that's true.
So that money there could be applied to the Marina reserves or used
Yeah.
to pay this off or pay it down or what have you.
That's true. Yeah.
David, do we know what under the option C plan, do we know what the annual payments would be or monthly? It could be annual or monthly, I guess.
It would be, the current payment on the average is like $183,000. So it would be this plus this. And if you divide by 12, you get the monthly. So let me get the calculator.
Oh, okay. Because right now, I think we're paying down I shouldn't, I'm guessing now, but there was some number, $100,000 a year that we had to pay down the principal. And then the interest expense was in the 140 or something range.
Yeah, we have that schedule. I put it back in the other room, but yeah, we have that called an amortization schedule. And then, yeah, we're paying down the principal every year, and every year it gets a little bit better. We pay more principal.
Yeah. The only thing that changed was the interest rate kept going up.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's why he uses that average amount, because it is confusing. So they do a tier when they do that schedule. So
Yeah.
So David, do you have a recommendation as far as maximum savings and the ability for the Marina Fund to carry this debt?
Well, I was talking it over with Blaine, and I mean, option A, you'd have a savings right away. Option B, you keep things at the same rate, and you have the savings at the end. With option C, you'd have to increase the amount of money going in for the first 5 years. I mean, I heard from Chris, that we might be doing dredging again, maybe in a few years.
Yeah.
So, if you did that, you would be able to pay this note, whatever we're going to get from the bank, off a lot quicker. And then, would we actually borrow the money for the new dredging? Maybe it's 3 million or 4 million. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe the payment, because we're going to have a 20-year bond, maybe the payment will be, this smaller amount of money paying off 5 years, as opposed to the larger amount of money over 20 years for the new dredging. Maybe the payments will be similar, so that people will be used to it. They won't feel like a huge impact. That's just kind of the thought process, we were talking about.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Committee members, anybody have any questions?
I do. If
Go
the
ahead, Steve.
if the interest rate is quite low right now, is this a good time to go ahead and move forward on dredging and going for another bond? Because if we wait 5 years, what's the interest rate going to be then? Who knows? But probably higher.
I was thinking about that before the meeting too. I think I was talking it over with Blaine.
yeah, we kind of expected your question there, Steve. So from previous discussions. So I think David's ready for you.
Good. I like
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I thought of it too. I thought the same thing. Interest rates are so great. Why don't we just lock it in? But then I thought, well, how much do we borrow? Do we have any preliminary engineering? Have we done any work to figure out really how much it's going to cost? Are there new environmental considerations that weren't around 10 years ago that now we have to deal with? There's got to be some legwork first before you go and just say we're going to borrow more money. The good news is if we go with one of these options, we can immediately have the savings, and these are all callable. So if we decide in a year, hey, we're going to pay it off or fold it into another bond issue with the dredging and paying the rest of this off, we can do that. We're not locked in for 5 years or 10 years. We can call each one of these issues, I mean, not right away. We got to wait like at least like 6 months to a year, but we have that option, which is good. But you're right, the interest rates are low. I mean, it would be a shame not to take advantage of it. But if we're not going to it takes time to do engineering and all that studying. I mean, if we're not going to actually start doing it for like a few years, and we're already paying, we're already paying the debt service on this new bond, and we're not really, I mean, it's something to consider. Maybe Chris can weigh in a little bit on the timing of maybe the next dredging.
I think that my personal plan, and I haven't shared this with anybody, is to really take a hard look at dredging it in the September timeframe, maybe at our next September meeting, lay out a plan, dedicate the whole meeting to that and see where we can go from there. Because I think that you and I also talked about that a little bit, David, that, now would be the time to really get on that. So one question I have is option C. If we went with that, our dredge fee is currently $1.03 per foot, per foot per month to our tenants. Would we leave it the same and just absorb that at the marina, or what would be the recommendation there?
David, can you go back to the slide just for C?
Yeah, sorry.
You have two options. You can raise the fee. Actually, you have three options. You can raise the fee to accommodate it's more than doubling, isn't it?
Well, no, currently we're paying about this much.
183. So it's about a 90% increase. So you can increase the fee by about 90%, or you can spend in fund balance, which you've got a pretty healthy fund balance for the dredging.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we do the dredging, when we do the financing, we're gonna look at how much of the fund balance we want to tap for the dredging. So that's certainly something we could tap, and that's why we want a healthy fund balance in there. So you could tap it. I think the fund balance would handle for the additional amount, or you could prepare yourself for more cash, because I think the bond is going to go higher. So my recommendation is C, and my recommendation would be to raise the rates at some level to accommodate it, and then you're gearing up for getting ready for the bond. Because I think we did 2.5 million before. Chris, you're thinking more like $5 million for dredging this time.
Yes.
So it's going to be a higher amount. And so you're tearing yourself up into it. I wouldn't recommend A, because you're kind of going down and then having to go back up again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shock. B keeps it at the same level, and all of these are callable. So like David was talking about, if we decide to do things sooner than the 5 years, if we get this on the short track, it could be 1 to 2 years. There's enough savings here. It just makes sense to go ahead and do the refinancing now to get that done, since we're just not ready for all the criteria we're going to get for extra money. They're going to be looking at us a lot differently on why we're borrowing and this stuff. This financing was a pretty simple thing to do. It didn't require near as much of the review that would go into a new financing. So it makes sense to just do it now. So I'd recommend, I mean, it's tough on it would be a rate increase, but I would recommend option C, and I would recommend raising the rates to gear up towards the dredging. If that's the route you want to go, I think that puts you on course.
Yeah, 90% is about 96 cents. So it'd be $1.99.
What does the current fee bring in every year?
Shoot, I do not have that in front of me, unfortunately. I would have to look that up.
It's intended to be about the same as the payment, isn't it, Chris?
Yes. I don't know if David could bring up Eden and take a look at that real quick.
I have to go to Eden and find it. I haven't, it's not something I'm used to looking for. It might take
Yeah.
a little. But let's see.
Well, personally, I'm kind of leaning towards the option C. We do have reserves that we can use if we have to make those payments. Is this an annual payment, by the way?
Yeah, that's the annual amount.
Okay. I don't know. I just in this environment, and then as Steve mentioned, if we can accelerate the process and get into the dredging, which is needed now. But if we can get into that process rapidly and take advantage of this current rate environment, it would be a nice boon. I don't know that I'd have to spend some time with the numbers to figure out whether or not we needed to increase the dredging fees, or if so, how much, and all that sort of thing. But still, that option C is pretty appealing.
Does David have any idea what we'd have to increase for option C?
I mean, I calculated 85%, so it would be whatever your payment is. Maybe you could phase it in over a number of years too to get there.
So at 85%, help me out, is that almost doubling than what we pay now?
Yeah, you'd be going up. So if you're like at $1, you'd be going to $1.85, for example. I don't
Yeah,
know what
we would go
Nope.
from $1.03 at 85%, from $1.03 to roughly $1.90.
So I think for
We're
my,
talking about we're talking about an increase in the dredging fee, not the overall rate.
it comes out of the same pocket.
Yeah, that's true. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that distinction.
So instead of, I think mine, I was looking for my bill here, I think mine was like 26 bucks for my little boat, so it'd go to 50 bucks.
Yeah, roughly.
That's every month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I found it. Mortgage temporary dredging fee, temporary. The budget for 21, oh, I shouldn't use the 21. I should go, well, anyway, the budget for 21 is $140,500. Let's see what we actually brought in previously though. Hold on a second. 5120, right? Yeah.
So, and the other issue is we could do the refinancing and then revisit the rate increase later. You don't have to do it at the same time. So when council looks at this, they just need to figure out what they're doing for which option to go to. And then they could come back as a separate item and look at the rate, whether they want to increase it by 85% or stagger it in. Is an option David's taught, or just do it somewhere in the middle and tap fund balance and tap the rate increase. You could do it either way. So
you brought in 143 for the dredging fee last year.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned we're gonna price ourselves out of the market.
well, Chris, don't we, on our rates, you guys usually look at the rates are a little bit behind. So, and we're at the 70% of the value is our goal. So I don't, was our 80%? Okay.
80%, yeah.
80% of value. So, so the issue is that material enough? And that's just 85% of the fee itself. That would dilute a lot more when you're looking at the total fee.
Yeah, I think we could work something out in conjunction with, not doing some of the, if we do have to go down the avenue of increasing dredging fees, we might put off some of our annual, roughly 3% increases that we've been doing, just to make it a little more palatable.
Yeah. It's
Well,
possible.
how you sell it to the marina tenants is another thing too, right? So they
Sure.
see rate increases, and they haven't really seen a whole lot in return for that. And I know we've been doing things like we have the Wi-Fi and all that all costs money. But when they're going to see it on their, and dredge is one of the things that I hear a lot. People are like, man, I have to wait till higher tide to get out because I drag bottom, or I drag bottom in my slip, different things like that. So I know dredging is important. And if you raise the dredge fee and you don't dredge for another 5 years or so, they're going to be like, what the hell? I think you would get a lot of unhappy tenants at that point. I mean, granted, you're raising from $1.03 to $1.90 or something like that, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for these larger boats and things like that, it does make quite a difference. So,
Yeah, do you think though, Ryan, that if we move forward with this and explain to them the reason that the rate went up is because we're trying to save money so we can start the dredging process now, because it's a year to 2 year process of
Right.
just permitting and certain engineering and stuff before you actually dig in the ground before people would see it.
Well, so it's all about the message, and you're absolutely right. If you could
Yeah.
explain it when they could understand, then certainly. But I'll give you an example. So we put Wi-Fi in, right? That's what we're working on. Do you know the reason that I heard that you're putting Wi-Fi in is
No.
because the liveaboards complained that they couldn't watch movies on their boats.
That's a new one.
So, but really, that's what I've heard. And
Wow.
so, do these improvements, whatever it happens to be, we need to make sure that our messaging to the tenants gets out a little better. Maybe explain it a little more in depth in the newsletter that goes out with the bill or something. But if you're going to increase the dredge fee, then people are going to have to understand, and we're going to have to be kind of clear about how we explain it to them.
I think it would take an effort not only from the Marina staff, but you guys as well, as you're talking to people around the docks
Yep.
too. You know, there's a lot of rumors out there, as you know, as I'm sure you've learned.
Oh,
We could add that to the rumor has it column in the mayor's
Yeah.
oh, there are
spotlight.
from the cameras to the Wi-Fi to all that stuff. I hear all kinds of reasons that aren't consistent with the actual reasons. So
Especially now that you're on this committee, you understand what's going on. So.
yeah.
Well,
So I heard.
noticed another in the participant list. I noticed another phone number identification, a 425 number. Is
Who
this
is that?
somebody that? Do we know who that is?
Who's the 425 number that's dialed in? Ending in 744.
So caller, can you identify yourself, please? Okay, well, I was thinking ahead a little bit to when we go to executive session, but we'll address that. Okay, what's the feeling of the committee at this time? I agree with Ryan that, you know, the messaging is going to be rather tricky. You know, but the bottom line is, you know, in order to get the kinds of improvements that we want, we're going to have to pay for it now or pay for it later. And I think this opportunity for some savings in restructuring this debt is pretty obvious at this point. And we may have, through our own reserves and through, you know, this bond fund thing, you know, there may be some things we can look at as far as soothing the blow a little bit. Is there a motion from the committee to approve one of these options? And by the way, this is approving a recommendation to the city council. We're not making this decision unilaterally.
Well, I'd make a motion to go with option C. I think the quicker we could pay off the current debt, even if, like I said, even if the payment's more, it allows us room to dredge, because the dredging is something that is on the forefront of people's minds in the marina.
I agree. Do I have a second?
I guess that only leaves me, and I'm still struggling with it. But I guess I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So further discussion, and I would say that in this interim period, what's the date of the council meeting when that's going to be discussed?
Tuesday, the 13th.
The 13th. Oh, that quick. Okay. Well, maybe we can kind of wrap our arms around some of the opportunities. Chris, I was wondering, trying to think back to when we did the last round of dredging. Did we have to front a bunch of expenses for the permit process, for, you know, environmental studies and all that kind of stuff?
I believe that we did. I was not involved in that. That was slightly before I became harbor master. I came in towards the end of that project, but I'm quite positive that we had to do it. That definitely.
Okay. Well, there are still a few unanswered questions, I guess. And to Ryan's point, you know, the presentation that we make from it, but the main thing that we're focusing on, I think at this point, based on the motion and discussion so far, is that it's an opportunity to save some money. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, financially, interest rates are going to go nowhere but up in the very near term, because the Federal Reserve's running out of ammunition to use and other things that are going on. In any event, we've had a motion and a second to go with the option C plan. All those in favor, just say aye. Aye. Ryan, I got yours. Steve, did you say aye?
I think I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I don't like voting on something that I don't know what the price is going to be, you know, for our payments, and we're kind of leaving it open-ended, and I don't care for that.
Well, I think we know what our payments are going to be.
Well,
It's just where we get
them. What my payment's going to be.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, we're kind of saying it's going to be there, but it's going to be, well, maybe postponed, or just, ugh.
Yeah, I hear you. For discussion purposes, as far as passing on information to the city council, they're going to have to address some of these issues. And I think Mr. Goldman is receiving the message, and so is Blaine, that you know, we're looking really seriously at what this does to it financially in the interim. And maybe we can answer some of those questions. Is that a possibility?
As far as the rates go, or as far as your fund balance?
Well, just kind of running the numbers of how the increase could be borne by the tenants.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it would probably look, all right, we can run some numbers. I'll talk to Chris. We'll run some numbers.
Okay.
Well, I think you had a pretty good idea. Somebody mentioned it about, hey, if we're going to raise, and again, your overall marina bill is your overall marina bill, but if you're going to raise the amount that we're going to say goes to dredging, then maybe hold off on a actual rate increase, and that way that'll be absorbed a little bit. I mean, because our target is to get to 80% of the other marinas, whether that money goes to dredge or whether it's just slip fees, everybody kind of pays it. That's the total price. So, and that would be a way that you would sell it to the tenants, be like, hey, we're going to increase the amount that goes to the dredge, but we're going to hold off on our rate increase, so you won't see that big of a hit. Now, I don't know what that does to the marina budget, if we actually need to increase our rates, just so that we could say that we're at 80%. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that part of it.
Yeah.
Doing the math, if we're charging $1.03 right now, and if it's going to increase by 90%, that's roughly 96 cents.
Per foot.
96 cents per foot. So that brings it up to 199. So for a 26-foot boat, goes to 51.74 from 26.78 per month.
So it's pretty much doubled it.
Right.
I'm probably the biggest one in favor of dredging, but I just can't go for that. I don't know what the options are, but I don't know. Don't feel good about it.
Yeah, we are talking about two different things. We're talking about the need for dredging, which we're really not addressing yet. I mean, we know it's there, but you know, we're not trying to figure out how to do that. The issue on the table is really how to utilize the income stream and take advantage of the current low interest rate market and so forth to perhaps accelerate the the remaining term, because we've got 10 years left on this, on the current bond issue, and we can pay it out over 10 years, or we can bite the bullet and pay it out over 5, but it's going to require a larger financial burden if we do that. But I think we need to focus on those, that particular portion of the options, and then maybe we can have another conversation. But I don't know if the city is going to, you think this ordinance is going to be presented for approval on Tuesday?
Yeah, it's a delegating ordinance, so it just says basically that the city council delegates to the finance director to follow our direction, and they're going to provide direction, what option to go towards, option A, B, or C, or maybe they'll defer it. Yeah, but either way, we're gonna follow, the city council's direction when we talk to the.
Sure.
Yeah, and Ken, I think what you're kind of alluding to, these expire, all these offers.
Well, they do,
So,
yeah.
so the council has to make a decision right away. So either, I think if they don't make it on the 13th, then I think shortly after it, all the options will expire, because they won't hold the interest rates for a long time. And that's why we're doing this in a quick
Right.
bidding period. So
Right.
they basically need to either they pick one of the options or they let it go. Are there 4 options that they have, and they need to make it basically at this upcoming council meeting on the 13th.
So I put this, so let's say we're going to dredge in a few years. If we phase this, if we're going to talk about a rate increase, currently $1.03 multiplied by 26 feet, average boat, about $26.78. If you go to $1.25 and then $1.50, $1.75 and phase it in, by the time you actually have to borrow $5 million, it's going to be already set, hopefully at the, at the $2 per lineal foot. So let's see what the difference is per year. It'll go up $5.72 the first year, $6.50 the next year, another $6.50, and then another $6.50. Well, that's per month. Sorry, that'll be the increase per month. If you were to do like a phasing plan for over 4 years,
Yeah.
For example, that's just option.
Well,
But if Chris is saying it's going to cost $5 million to dredge, I mean, you are going to be looking at an increase, to do dredging again, But, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, as you look at the dredge, like you say, it's going to happen, and probably sooner than later. If option B keeps the payments kind of the same, but you don't see any true savings till year 10,
Yeah.
You can't really wait that much longer we're going to have to dredge before 10 years, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So if you're going to see any savings at all, you're going to see savings with option A right away. Option B is in the future, but is that future far enough that we're going to see it, or will we just roll that into another dredge fee? And you see it in 5 years, it's paid off, but it's going to cost us more. So I think we get it paid off and then move on with the next one. But like I said, it's all in that messaging, how you do it and how you come up with the money. And that's going to be a delicate process, whether you raise the rates, whether you for the dredging fee, or you abstain on raising the rates, or I don't know, or maybe use some of that extra money, whatever, to kind of phase in to absorb some of that extra costs to reduce the amount on the tenants. I don't know. I don't have the answer right now for the best way to finance that, but C makes the most sense.
Yeah, another option or observation on option C too is you're not earning much money on the money you're setting in fund balance. And so if you view the interest rate as an opportunity cost, you can look at the rate backwards, and earning 8.8%, paying no 8% is actually a decent rate now. So you're going to, by paying it off, there's some residual benefit, not only the savings, but you are earning your money's going further by putting it towards principal payment rather than leaving it in the bank. I guess
Right.
is what I'm kind of getting to.
That's true. And to your point too, Ryan, the one thing as far as messaging, currently on those bonds, they have an escalating payment structure, and the rate is somewhere around, I don't know, 4.5% or something like that. So if we can go to sub 1%, we're actually paying less to use those dollars, and it may pinch a little bit, but I agree with you that we don't have the luxury of looking at all the different ways we can make this work, and we don't know exactly what the impact would be on tenants and so forth. So it's kind of on us to work those things out over the next month or so. We have a kind of a dilemma if Ryan and I vote for approval of the ordinance and JJ's not here and Steve is abstaining, do we have a quorum?
You do, because you have 3 people. So you and Ryan would carry the vote.
Okay, I see what you mean. So
Yeah, and the
3
other
people
issue,
voting.
the other issue is this is non-binding. So at some issues that the council has, it's the majority of the council rather than the majority present. So my guess is it would be a valid motion on a 2-1 vote, because it's just really a recommendation. And there's no specification for majority of quorum. If it was a majority of a quorum that was required, then you're right, 2-1 vote wouldn't carry.
Well, just to move us off center here, I'm prepared to vote, and so Steve, are you still in the mode of abstention?
Yeah, I got a discussion point, but I think we're past that. So
Okay.
if you can pass it, that's okay. Go for it.
And Ryan, are you still affirmative on option C?
Yeah, I believe that gives us the best savings.
Okay, so we're gonna show that this recommendation is approved from the committee, and we're looking at just providing this advice to the council and to the financial brains involved for option C. So if anybody's changed their mind, let me know now or hold your peace, I guess. I guess that's for weddings, isn't it? Okay, so moving right along. Thank you very much, Mr. Goldman. We appreciate your diligence, and we'll be calling upon you, it sounds like, in the not too distant future to start running some other numbers for us, and Chris will be heavily involved in that as well.
All right, take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Chris, the next item on the agenda is General Marina update, unless you had something else you wanted to this last point, or?
I just think that on Tuesday, I'm going to be in Florida. It might be a good idea if you log on to that meeting, prepared to answer any questions that may come regarding the committees.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Oregon, but
Okay.
I could, if you give me the information on logging in, I can do that.
Okay. I think that might be a good idea. So,
Chris, are you talking about the council presentation?
yeah, if he logs on and listens to that, they may have a question for him as the Marine Advisory Committee. They've done that on the past on stuff like this.
Yeah, just clear that with Lisa so he gets the link. You
Yeah.
can watch it on YouTube, but she can give you the link so you can log in for the discussion item.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
oftentimes the council just wants to know if we've considered it and expressed an opinion.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's all I had to say about that. So, general update. Wow, it's been busy at the Marina. Not just with the summer buzz. It's fantastic 4th of July, fantastic crab opener. With all the stuff that's going on at the Marina behind the scenes. From the Wi-Fi project, we had Wi-Fi installed. Need to fine tune it, identify the dead areas, and solve those issues. That's our biggest project right now. To just being sold out, quite a bit out there on FDOC, and it just seems like the summer went from 0 to 60 overnight for us. And at this time of year, we shift from doing a lot of project work. Granted, we did the Wi-Fi. We're in the process at the next council meeting, I believe it is, or maybe the one after. The security cameras will be identified and approved, so that'll be coming real quick. So we've been working pretty hard on identifying locations, and that actually ties into the Wi-Fi pretty good. Some of you might have seen the new log boom we're creating in front of the office and alongside the office. More to come on that. So yeah, it's just been super busy with people and in smaller projects. So,
Chris, was the fire water supply problem, was that handled?
yes, that was repaired. So we have a clean, excuse me, a clean bill of health there, which is nice. The 4-inch fire main has been repaired and pressure tested. So should we need it, it's there and ready to go. Thanks for reminding me about that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Any questions of Chris from the committee? Okay, we'll move along to, were you all done, Chris?
yes, sir.
Okay, so let's move on to the advisory committee comments, and I'll lead off with one comment. I was wondering if it's probably out of the scope of marina operations, but do we have some sort of a derelict, we meaning the city of Oak Harbor, have a derelict boat ordinance or, long-term moorage thing? It just dawned on me the other day that I've seen, there's a small sailboat anchored off the beach over here that's been there for a few weeks now. And I have, other than the first couple of days, I've seen nobody coming and going from that boat. So I don't know if we should be thinking about some way of doing welfare checks or finding out if somebody's just parking their boat and leaving.
Are you talking about the sailboat that's just on the other side of the channel there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I saw people there today.
So we
good.
have an anchorage limit this time of year of, I want to say it's 14 days off the top of my head, within the city limits. So that boat is right on the cusp of the edge of the city limits, but I can definitely, and I have not touched base with them because I knew that. But we can go out there and have a conversation with them. We definitely don't want to acquire boats out there. I don't know if it's nice or derelict or anything. I haven't even looked at it through the.
Yeah, I wasn't picking on that particular boat. It just reminded me of the situation because, there've been plenty of bays and so forth around the state of Washington that have had issues with derelict boats, and, they just become a liability real fast.
Yeah.
They just hauled one away in Coopville.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too long ago.
That boat tried to come to our marina, but it did not pass the test. So the seaworthy test, that is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Any other advisory committee questions or comments?
So speaking of the seaworthy test, so that's coming up what, in September?
No,
August or September?
August.
Okay.
Tried to pick months that we knew would be good, so.
Okay. And that went okay the last time, right? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine there'll be any issues this time.
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. Were there people that we had to give extra time to the last time around?
No, we had one person whose boat broke down, but he fixed it right away. And it was only one of 2 engines. He actually completed it on 1 engine, but he had to run the boat anyway, so he did and passed it. And we had one liveaboard who refused to do it, so he's no longer a liveaboard. So.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, perfect.
So according to my agenda, we're going into executive session to talk about the lease purchase, so on and so forth. At this point, we need to figure out who that one unidentified caller is, if they're still there.
Yeah, they're still
And-
here.
Yeah, they're still there.
If they don't identify, then what we need to do is do it like we do the council meeting. You need to read the executive session motion, and then you need to state the amount of time. And then Chris can put the person in the waiting room. And then when we're done, we'll let the person back into the meeting.
Hey, Chris, are you prepared to read the motion for the meeting, or
Yeah, I can do that.
is that the same as the,
It's the same as the bottom of the agenda.
consider selection of site, so on and so forth?
No, it's number 6 on the agenda. We just read that verbatim.
And then you need to state the amount of time we're going to go into executive session.
Yeah, I think 15 minutes is appropriate.
Okay, all right.
You want me to read it, Ken? I'll go ahead and read it. Executive session per RCW 42.30.1101B to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. So we'll be moving into executive session at this point for a period of 15 minutes. The person with the phone number 425-330-8744 will be moved into the waiting room. Any comments or questions? All right, I've moved that person into the waiting room. So just a general update on the things that we've been working on since our last meeting last month. Most recently, we met with DNR to discuss the lease. And we're working towards working with them to discern how we can acquire the lease. They call them assign the leases to us. The one lease, as you gentlemen are aware, for the Claus family property was recently negotiated for a period of 12 years. So we know what's in that lease and we know what's to be expected. The lease that Mark has with DNR expires January 15th of 2022. So the options there are that we let him renegotiate the lease, or B, we purchase it and then renegotiate it ourselves. And the challenge and where we're trying, and we don't have an answer for this, this is just pure information I'm giving you. The challenge is in the pros, well, actually the pros and cons, if we let Mark renegotiate the lease, then we know what we're getting, okay, because the lease is set. The cons to that is it could set the whole project back 6 months to a year, because that's how long it takes. And the question to that is, even if the lease is negotiated and we're researching this, trying to find this out, can they still make amendments based upon the environmental survey that we would have to fulfill? So that's the challenges, the pros and cons with him negotiating it. If we negotiate, if we go ahead and purchase the business without a current lease, then we have to negotiate a new one. DNR at that time could throw a bunch of conditions in that lease, plus conditions based on the environmental survey. So we're trying to discern what is the best way to go and find out what DNR's stance on Mark's lease. If we do indeed let him negotiate it, can they add conditions to that as well? It wasn't clear in the meeting. I think that our rep had to talk to her management to find that answer out. So that's really the big thing we're working on right now. We were set. We've been working with the purchasing department to go out to get environmental surveys and a business plan done, approved at the August 4th City Council meeting. So it's not likely we're going to do that at this time. We'll probably delay that a bit while we're working with DNR. What's interesting is there's 2 DNR leases on the property, but there's only 1 boatyard permit. So we're feeling, if we don't change the use, that's not a problem at all. So that's where we're at with that. The goal of DNR that she shared with us is to eventually have 1 lease for the Marina and Mariners Haven, just 1 big lease. And they still do, she did say that they still do hope and support that we purchase this boatyard, but she understands where we're at. She had to go talk to her management again. So we're kind of at a holding pattern right now. Not that we're holding for, there's nothing to do. We're holding because we're waiting to hear back from them at this point. So, and we're writing them a letter as well, asking in these specific questions, so we have their answer in writing.
It would be a little bit unconventional, but it might work that if DNR was agreeable, that we could negotiate a lease with them contingent on acquisition of the property. So, we'd be just trying to get our ducks in a row so that we would know for sure what DNR's terms and conditions and the cost was going to be going forward. They've had historically some problems in getting stuff done in a timely manner anyway, but I mean, that's just personal observation, but that may be something, if they'd be willing to at least sign a letter of understanding or something like that, some sort of a measure that would allow us to have some degree of certainty that we're going to be able to live with the lease once it happens.
Yeah, we actually talked to her about that. And what's interesting, if Mark renegotiates the lease, then there's no environmental survey done. That's one of the benefits of him doing it. If we negotiate a lease in advance of purchasing it, then they're going to want to base that lease on what the environmental survey could reveal. That was my response exactly. So
yeah.
Yeah, Ken, you're being really logical, and we did not get a logical answer. Yeah. So it's the bottom line here. Yeah, and there's some animosity. She brought up the issue with the tidelands and the ownership, and so so we deal with that. So and it's interesting because if he negotiates and gets a lease, then in the provisions it says if you do continue to do it for the same purpose, then the terms need to kind of go follow that lease, and that's the reason why it's kind of backwards why we thought it was more favorable for him to do it. But if we're negotiating all ourselves, and then they're going to want that at the sale time. They didn't want to do it in advance, and Chris asked that 3 times. Oh, I'll give you a copy, but I'm not going to give you. They're not going to give us any potential terms or give us a really good understanding of what we're facing. So we ended up with this dilemma on that because I think Chris asked her about 3 times different ways to do it, and so we didn't get a logical answer. The more favorable, and that's why that's why something that intuitively looks backwards actually came out to look more favorable in the long run.
So if Mark successfully renegotiates this lease with DNR, that would be a 10-year term?
10 or 12 years, probably, yes.
Okay, and what I'm hearing is that the process to assign the lease, as long as the purpose remains the same, is sort of a rubber stamp?
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty strange.
It is. But I think that, as I think back on the meeting, she was kind of sharing some information, but I think she really wanted to get an information in hopes that we'd say, okay, let's just negotiate a new one. So I'd like to just wait and see what her management team's going to say, because I don't think she makes the decisions. I think she just delivers the information.
Yeah. Well, at some point in the very near future, we need to be dealing with the decision makers and not
Yeah.
somebody that's
Right.
just a,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's our
that's,
big dilemma right now.
we're not going to get anywhere if we have to do the go-between thing all the time, because it's a complicated issue.
And like Blaine said, the challenge is that those decision makers were here when we got that free lease, and were here recently when we said basically we're not paying on the tidelands because they're ours.
Yeah.
And they eventually agreed to disagree with us and not charge us. So on the field tidelines.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I don't think that DNR realizes what position they're in with Mariners Haven and Mark's health and all that stuff. What could have happened,
So are they going to, who's going to renegotiate the lease with Mark if that's the way we go? Is it going to be the same go-between person or one of the decision makers?
It's probably her reporting back to her manager.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
And,
it's going to be easier for him to say, give me the same terms. It seems like Claus was able to do that.
Yeah.
Did a fairly favorable lease and
So the Klaus family trust, that's also a DNR loss or a lease. I mean,
They have the lease for the back gravel area. They don't have a lease on the piece they own, but just on the back gravel area they do.
yeah, okay.
so, and then we also are looking at a letter of intent
Mm-hmm.
per our city attorney, just kind of sets forth the options there. And if we do the letter of intent and if it sounds more favorable for Mark, then Mark, that would be part of the letter of intent. Would just be a letter of intent to negotiate. So
Would that establish a purchase price?
No.
Okay.
that's why it's not going to be considered a sale. And DNR's thing, if he's in a sale agreement with us, then they're going to want to negotiate with us and not him.
Okay.
So we can be in something in